Hello dear T-friends from around the world, and welcome to a new T-class with me, Stéphane Herler, the founder of the T-Masters blog and the T-Masters.com T-Boutique in Taiwan. And today, for the last class of the season, before the summer break, I wanted to do maybe a follow-up on T-class that had the most views in recent months, and it was a T-class about tea and inflation. And I saw it had the most views, so I think you must be quite interested in this economic subject. And it happens, I did it because it happens to be one of my other fields of interest. I graduated as an MBA student in 1994, and my specialty was finance. So for a long time I was working in the financial field, and finance has remained a strong interest for me. And besides tea, so of course, and so I'll try to combine again these two interests into one class, and I hope you will find it interesting. If you do, please give me a like usual, on YouTube or on Facebook Live right now, and let's start. You know the saying that bars are recession-proof, because when things are going great, people are out drinking and partying, and when the economy takes a downturn, then bars are the place where people go to drink and forget about their worries. Well, maybe tea is also a bit recession-proof, because when things are great, then you want to drink tea to enjoy life, to be very clear about how beautiful life is at the present time. And when things are going south in the economy, with inflation rates, with wars going around, then what you want to do is keep a clear mind and find solutions to get out of trouble, and to survive the current downturn. And not so. Our motto is not to drink to forget, but to drink to become smarter and very clear-eyed about what's happening. We'll try to be not judgmental, because sometimes economics can be a bit political, but we'll try to remain on really some very fundamental truths that maybe you are better than me already at figuring this out, but let's still see if I can add one more thing or two to the understanding of the big picture we are having now. My very first thing before we go to investing is what does it mean to be rich? Is it to have a big car, to have a big house, to have a big bank account, to have a large salary? Well, all things, of course, all these things can be good signs telling you somebody is rich, but maybe not. For me, a very fundamental thing, no matter how much you make, is that you are rich from the moment on you live within your means. So from the moment on you spend less than what you take in, then you are rich, because you are already, well, of course, if you live a satisfactory life, you don't want to be, if you feel miserable while living within your means, this is not being rich. But if you can find a way of life that suits you, and where you live within your means, then you are rich. You don't need to make necessarily $100,000, $200,000, or $1 million a year to be rich. As long as you are happy within your means, then you are rich. So the two things need to happen. First, you need to make a certain amount. Still, you need to make money. If you don't make any money, then that's still a problem, because nobody can live on only clear water. So how to make money? Necessarily by providing services to other people, by helping them, by helping solving their problems, and trying to use as many as you can of your natural skills. And hopefully it's a job that motivates you, that also makes you happy, so that the time you spend doing it will not make you unhappy and feel burdensome. So this, I would say, is a bit the balance to on the income side. And then on the expense side, how do you now keep within your means, especially now that the economic situation is difficult, so maybe you get some cuts on the income. How do you cut also on your expenses? With tea, there are a few things we can do. We can use fewer leaves and longer brews. This would mean that we don't get as many brews as we would normally. But according to the law of diminishing return, a very economic concept, the first bite, the first cup is always the best, and the more you repeat it, the more you get accustomed to it. So actually it does not help to drink 10 cups if you can drink 8 cups. Actually you or 7, then the pleasure is roughly the same as with 10 or 12 cups. So using fewer leaves and longer brews is one way of making the most of your tea, and saving on the expense side. This is also how you are able to afford better teas, because you are also not brewing so many leaves at a time. So then the cost per session is going to be lower. Another way of lowering your expenses tea-wise in your tea budget is, of course, to use the current stocks of leaves that you have. If you still have a lot of small samples here and there, maybe try to finish them before you purchase your new batches of tea from this year. Then maybe you find out that you don't need to buy as many leaves as usual. You can maybe cut a little bit here. Another way is also to is really to match your tea quality to the level of attention that you can give. So if you make a very nice session with a full charshi, with when you have maybe a good half an hour to spare, only then would you take the very good tea out. If you are going to drink tea in a hurry, between two assignments, between two jobs, between two appointments, then maybe it makes more sense to choose a lower grade tea that does not require all your attention, and then you are not wasting it, and therefore you are also saving a bit on tea. And so it's to have also a large choice of teas at home. You need some teas for every day, for a quick tea when you need also the tea intake, and some higher grades when you really have time to dedicate to the tea with your full attention. Of course, you're already doing it well if you are buying tea from my store, because by purchasing from Taiwan directly, you're cutting one or two middlemen in the process, and this helps you to get maybe better tea, better prices, but especially better teas, because actually when I get requests to provide tea to shops in the US or in Europe, very quickly they stop at a certain price level. They will buy up to really Alishan Qingxin or Alishan Jinxuan are already the top teas that they are going to consider to purchase from me. Over Alishan is already no, too expensive. We are not able to. We cannot sell this to our customers, especially also because they need to add so much markup to maintain their own staff, their own place. That it does not make sense, and the market would be too small. So by selecting your teas and purchasing from Taiwan, you're already making the good choice in terms of quality price level. You could get maybe a lower price by buying directly from farmers, but then you don't have as much choice. You also don't have the samples, the small samples, and also the farmer himself, he has to sell all his teas, every batch that is produced, the ones from spring, but also the ones from fall, from summer, which are lower grade, and especially if it's a guy on the internet who wants a very low price. Well, he's going to go with lower quality because he knows this is a guy who wants a low price, who did not have time the opportunity to try it first. So he will send him the lowest grade possible, because that's how he can be really competitive and give him the price he wants. So this is not how I'm working. Otherwise, I would not be in business after 18 years. If I were doing this, I'm really selecting as good as the quality as I possibly can to provide you a great choice, and also samples so that you can try in advance. And if you really like this tea, then you can buy a larger amount, 150 gram, and make some savings because you are buying in a larger amount. And also, if you buy over $100, you get free shipping. So I think another way of saving money is to always go above $100 to get free shipping, because small orders, the shipping costs are, especially now with high prices in oil, are really eating a lot of value. So if you can get free shipping, actually it makes much more sense. And right now, until the end of the month, it's my 18th birthday of the blog, so there are 18 products with 18% discount. Okay, I stopped the advertising. You got the message. So we got this covered. To be rich is to live within your means. If you do so, then only it means that you have some money every month left over that you can invest, because your income is greater than your expenses every month. Now, here comes finally to our class. What do we do with this money that is left over? How do we invest it, or maybe why do we invest it? The reason why is money is also a reserve of value. It's not just a way of measuring how much something costs and helping us to do the exchange, but it's also a reserve of value, so that in difficult times you have a little basket, a little egg basket where you can get some resources, and maybe you can also afford larger things that you wouldn't be able to afford within just the income from 1 month, like a car or a house. So for this you need also to put some money aside and to invest it, and your basic responsibility is to make sure that this money is well invested. Now, from how you say, the biggest threat to this money that you put aside right now is the inflation that is going on around the world, actually more in the US and in Europe than in Asia, because remember very quickly the inflation class. Inflation is basically a problem of the value of your money going down, which is then making prices to increasing. It's because the Fed or the Central Bank of Europe are printing a lot of money that at the end this money is growing faster than the economy, and this is what makes prices grow. There are sometimes also inflation, not inflation, but prices can vary due to some harvests, etc. But basically, it is more a problem of monetary policy, that when there's too much money printed, then at the end the value of your money goes down. So you want to protect your money from this problem, which we have not so much in Asia, because the policy here was a bit more prudent, and this is why also, it's also another good point right now to buy tea, is that prices for tea this year have not risen in Taiwan, so maybe except on Suji Dongpian, but all the others are still the same price as last year in US dollars, so at least on this product you can find some solace that it is your money is still the same, still have the same purchasing power for tea, and so you can still afford the same teas as before, but for other products it is more complicated. So it's more for the other products that we need to invest, and in investing we have two choices. One is to buy a paper with a promise, or to buy a paper that gives you a property right. So either you buy a debt, you own a debt which gives you interest, a bond, or you go to the bank and they give you some interest, or you buy a property that will that you own, and that might or might not give you some income. If it's a house, it would be rental. If it's a stock, you might get some dividends. But basically, you have only two choices: to buy a debt or to buy a property. So now, what to do? Well, in the current situation with inflation around 8% in the US, and between 5 and 8 or 12 in Europe, and interest rates, they have gone from 0 to 2 or 3, sometimes 4, slowly, depending on which countries in Europe, but 8 and 2 and 3 now, which means you still have negative interest rates right now if you buy debt, and still quite a big chunk of negative rate. You lose actually therefore roughly 5 or 4% on every year if you buy a debt, if you buy a bond, if you go to the bank to loan your money. But to lend your money, but so therefore this is still not just risky, it's actually plain stupid, because the inflation might or might might still continue to grow. They are playing catch up right now by increasing the interest rates, but it's still a long way to go. because in theory the interest rate should be higher than inflation. For a simple reason is that the future is not known, is uncertain. Present time is certain. So to have a zero interest rate meant that the future is known, is as sure as the present. If I give you if you lend me 100 and I say, okay, tomorrow I give you back 100, well, this zero interest rate means that my promise to give it back to you tomorrow is 100% sure. But actually, it's not. It's never 100% sure. There's always a risk that I fall sick, that I have an accident in the street. Many things can happen. So the future is always uncertain, and that's why the value of the interest rate should be above the inflation rate. So, and especially if you want to preserve money, it should be above. Otherwise, it does not make sense. You are better off to spend it or to invest it in something where the value does not decrease, where the value remains. So, therefore, right now, the best way to invest is in property, to buy probably good assets that have a real value. Now, which ones? It's a bit tricky. The most famous one is gold, which has remained quite stable, unlike a stock market where it's been up and down. So you might consider a certain amount of gold. The other one, if you want to go in the stock market, my general principle or philosophy is that even though I'm a financier from my background, from my education, I know that we don't know the future. Man does not know the future. So future being unpredictable, managers who invest, they also make mistakes, and very few managers are able to beat the market consistently over a long period of time. And therefore, if you invest for a longer period of time, and you should only invest in the stock market if it is for a longer period of time. If it's for a couple of months, then it does not make. This is not called investing. It's just called waiting. Here you have to do a different strategy. Maybe it's still makes more sense to lose a couple of percentage in inflation than risk losing a large amount in the stock market, because in the stock market there are really huge ups and downs. However, in the long term, the stock market is right now, I would say, safer than lending, because the bonds that are out there, they are above, in many cases, 100% of GDP for many countries, and this is really too risky. And therefore it is less risky to invest in the stock market if you are there for the long term. And the way to do it, my philosophy is go ETF on the whole market, because managers, as I said, are not able to beat the market, at least not consistently, or only very few. So finding the right one is really a difficult task. And like this, you feel that you will feel that the money you have earned is the sum of the money that was generated by the economy. You're not making more, but you're not making less. And this, I feel, is a good way of investing. You are not trying there to achieve fantastic returns and become the next Warren Buffett, but you are making better than most funds. So, and you are making as much as on average. So you actually, on average, people who invest in mutual funds, they will make less because these mutual funds are run by people, by managers, and these cost a lot of money. Whereas when it's an ETF and it is run automatically with simply a formula, because it replicates a market index, then this can be done much cheaper, and over long term you are making you are reaping the gains of not paying these managers. Well, that's a good reason why I did not continue in this field and am doing tea. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope this was not too boring and not too far away from tea, but in these difficult times I wanted to help you to protect your assets, and because you are my long-time customers and friends, so I also have your interests at heart, and I hope it will give you some ideas, and especially don't make the mistake of lending your money right now to, and putting it into bonds. This is definitely not the way to go. Thank you very much for attention, and see you then in September after the summer break. Thank you. Bye bye.